Chapter 2990. Like Lu Yen, Xiao Fei hadn't been to China many times and wasn't familiar with the city. When Lu Yen mentioned killing people, Xiao Fei thought she was just joking. Xiao Fei thought she would visit Qinchu first. Unfortunately, she didn't. In a narrow and dark alley, Lu Yen stepped on a man's neck. "Tell me, what's Hua Xiqian's plan?" "I really don't know. I'm just an errand boy. How would I know about this?" "You don't know? Very good." The moment he said that, Lu Yen raised her knife. Heavy weapons weren't allowed at the security checkpoint. Therefore, Lu Yen thought of a way to bring a sharp dagger and set up an anti-interference signal around it. She even fooled the security checkpoint. This dagger had been with Lu Yen for many years. Although it didn't look special, it was made of special materials and could cut through iron like mud. Professor Lu gave it to her for her 12th birthday to protect her. He made it himself. Some special elements were added to it. Apparently, it was made of materials used in aviation, so it was invulnerable. After following Lu Yen for so many years, it had developed a strong bond with her. Whenever it was unsheathed, it would kill, leaving no one alive. Lu Yen was very good at using it. It was very compatible with the dagger. A cold light flashed, and a few seconds later, the man's head drooped and he died. Lu Yen looked at the information on her watch. These were the results of her subordinate's investigation. She knew where these Hua Xiqian remnants were hiding and where their homes were. Lu Yen arrived in Sea City in less than 3 hours. She killed 7 people. She was a professional killer. "I'll ask you one more time, do you know or not?" "I really don't know. Please forgive me." The man trembled in fear. Lu Yen glanced at him coldly and slit his throat with the knife. The man didn't even have a chance to scream. "Yen, that's enough. Let's call it a day," Xiao Fei persuaded. "What? Are you softening your heart?" Lu Yen looked at Xiao Fei. "No, I don't want you to be too tired." "Ooh. I'm surprised by your answer. I thought you'd say it's too cruel to kill so many people." Lu Yen chuckled. "How could that be? As the king of the mercenary world, there are so many assassins who fear you. I wouldn't be surprised even if you killed a whole company. You're a warrior who fought your way out of a pile of corpses. A warrior who escaped from a pile of corpses? This description is very accurate. I like it very much." Lu Yen put away the dagger and stopped killing as Xiao Fei said. "Shouldn't we find a place to rest?" Xiao Fei felt bad for Lu Yen. She hadn't even rested after getting off the plane and was already working so hard. "Don't worry, I'll take you somewhere." After that, the two of them got into the car and left. Sea City's eastern district. Inside an inconspicuous bar, Lu Yen led Xiao Fei in and found it was dimly lit and smoky. Lu Yen glanced around and didn't find the person she was looking for, so she went up to the 2nd floor. However, he was stopped at the staircase. "Hey, what are you doing?" "Looking for someone," Lu Yen said. "Looking for someone? The person you're looking for isn't upstairs," the man at the door yelled. He was about 1.9 meters tall and had a strong back and waist. "I haven't even looked for him yet. How do you know he's not here?" "Of course, the 2nd floor is my boss's private office. Outsiders aren't allowed in. Go away, little girl, go play somewhere else." The man looked at the girl in a mini t-shirt and denim shorts. She was so young that he guessed she was here to cause trouble. "I'm here for your boss," Lu Yen said stubbornly. Chapter 2991. Looking for our boss? The man didn't believe her and repeated his question. "Yes." Lu Yen was surprisingly patient, which was rare for her, because she felt that this blockhead was really interesting. "Who are you to our boss?" The man sized up Lu Yen from head to toe and thought curiously that he had never seen such a woman around his boss. She looked unfamiliar. "I'm a very close friend of your boss." "Nonsense. I've been with him for more than 2 months. How come I've never seen you?" Lu Yen rubbed the tip of her nose, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "Little girl, this is not a place where you should be. Quickly take your pretty boy and leave." "Little girl? Toy boy?" Xiao Fei's face turned green when he heard the word toy boy. He swore that if Lu Yen wasn't here, he would have chopped this blockhead into pieces. You know what? He just picked up something." Lu Yen told him the secret of the shrine. "What did I pick up?" The big man was puzzled. "You narrowly escaped death. You should be glad you're still alive. What are you talking about?" "Little girl, let me tell you. This isn't an ordinary bar. If you want a drink, go somewhere else. Don't come here." The big man pushed Lu Yen out impatiently. Before his hand could touch Lu Yen twisted his arm and dislocated it with a crack. The pain was indescribable. It was obvious from the big man's twisted expression. The big man's scream attracted the attention of the other thugs in the bar. They saw the commotion from afar and immediately ran over. Before they could reach Lu Yen, the man upstairs stopped them. "What's up, all of you? Big brother." The thugs immediately greeted him respectfully. Hearing the commotion downstairs, Paul immediately came out to check. Seeing the commotion, he had to stop it. He remembered that his boss had told him not to cause trouble in China and to keep a low profile. Therefore, they rarely took the initiative to cause trouble. The bar was dimly lit, so they couldn't see the people downstairs. Paul walked downstairs in a black suit. At first, he looked cold and expressionless. When he saw Lu Yen, he was dumbfounded. Old? Can't you speak properly?" Lu Yen asked. Paul dropped to his knees with a thud. "That's right, you didn't see it wrong." He was indeed kneeling on both knees to pay his respects. His subordinates were all dumbfounded. Their boss, who had always been cold and mysterious, was actually kneeling down to a little girl who looked like she was only 20 years old. "Boss, when did you arrive? Why didn't you inform me? If I told you, would you be able to see such a fun scene today?" Lu Yen said. When he heard that even his boss had to call this little girl boss, the blockhead was completely dumbfounded. "Big brother, who is she?" the blockhead asked curiously as Lu Yen twisted his arm. "How dare you? Are you asking about the boss's identity?" After saying that, Paul took out his gun and aimed it at the blockhead. "It's your subordinate's fault. Kill him immediately as an apology to the boss." "No need, I've killed enough today. I want to take a break." Then Lu Yen pushed the blockhead hard and he fell to the ground with a thud. "Boss, quick, please come upstairs." Kneeling on the ground, Paul said respectfully. Seeing Xiao Fei beside Lu Yen, Paul was surprised. "Third young master, you're here too?" Chapter 2992. Xiao Fei nodded slightly and followed Lu Yen up the stairs. Paul didn't dare to stand up until the two bosses went upstairs. "Boss, who is that girl? Why are you so afraid of her?" one of his subordinates asked unwillingly. "You better watch your tongue. If you dare to offend her again, I'll kill you." Paul glared at the man. His subordinates were so scared that they didn't dare to say anything. They knew how cruel Paul was. "I'll only say it once. Remember, she's our god." Then Paul turned around and went upstairs, leaving his subordinates dumbfounded. Paul was sent by Lu Yen to protect Huamin. He was a team under Lu Yen. Opening the bar was just a cover. The real purpose was to protect Huamin and his family. Some of the secret guards were sent out to protect Qin Chu at the hospital. Some were sent to investigate Huamin, and some were sent to track down Hua Xiqian's remaining members. So Paul was the only one left in charge. Those who didn't recognize Huamian were all small fries and weren't worth mentioning. It was this team that called Lu Yan's watch and begged for death. Lu Yan's arrival made them tremble in fear. Because they failed to protect Huamin fell off the cliff. They had been with Lu Yan for many years and knew how angry she was. After entering Paul's office, Lu Yan sat in her chair. Lu Yan sat down in the executive chair, leaned back heavily and closed her eyes. Xiao Fei pulled a book off the shelf and sat on the sofa, reading it calmly without saying a word. The atmosphere was very strange. After Paul came in, he knelt down and apologized. "Boss, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I couldn't protect Miss Hua." Lu Yan didn't say a word. "Boss, you should punish me. They really did their best. I was careless. I thought that with Qin Chu and Su Yu, Miss Hua would be fine. So we were still a distance away from her and didn't have time to save her." Lu Yan still didn't say anything. "Boss, I hope that my death will appease your anger." With that, Paul took out a pistol and pointed it at his own head. He gently pulled the trigger. Xiao Fei was puzzled, wondering why Lu Yan didn't react at all. He looked up at Lu Yan. Lu Yan was as calm as ever. Her eyes were closed as if she had fallen asleep. Finally, Paul seemed to have made up his mind and ruthlessly hooked him. Unfortunately, there was no gunshot. Surprised, he looked up at his gun and then at Lu Yan, who was standing not far away from him. Only then did Lu Yan slowly open her eyes. She had a few bullets in her hand. "Are you looking for this?" Lu Yan asked. Paul was speechless. He had been kneeling when Lu Yan walked past him and went upstairs in just a few seconds. She finally stole his bullets, but he didn't even know. The boss's skills were indeed terrifying. If she really wanted to kill him, she wouldn't have waited until now, right? Boss, Paul hesitated. My subordinates aren't cowards who only know how to seek death. I'm sorry, boss. I'm sorry to Miss Hua. Who said my sister must be dead? Lu Yen rolled her eyes at him. Boss, do you know where Miss Hua is? Is there a chance? Paul was pleasantly surprised. I don't know if there's a chance, but I need you to find someone for me as soon as possible, Lu Yen ordered. Who? Paul was puzzled. Chapter 2993. Yen Ruashi. Do you know her? Lu Yen asked slowly as she played with the globe on her desk. Yen Ruashi. Is she Mayor Yan's daughter? Yes. Okay, boss. I'll go get her now. Is half an hour enough? Lu Yen glanced at her watch and asked. Yes. Then Paul left like a gust of wind. He didn't even have time to say goodbye to Lu Yen. Are you sure half an hour is enough? Don't you always get stuck in traffic in China? Xiao Fei put down the book and asked Lu Yen. Stuck in traffic? That's their problem. I'm only responsible for giving orders. Lu Yan's unreasonableness was second to none in the world. Her point of view was, whatever task I give you, just do it. Don't tell me you can't finish it. She wouldn't listen to any of your explanations. Even if there was a traffic jam, you had to find a way to get her back. It was that simple. You win. Xiao Fei was speechless again. Paul left less than 3 minutes ago. Someone knocked on the door. Come in. The blockhead whose arm was dislocated walked in, trembling. He held a tray in his hand. On it was an exquisite fruit platter and 2 cups of coffee. Boss. No, Mr. Paul told me to take good care of you. If you need anything, just tell me. After witnessing Lu Yan's power, the blockhead didn't dare to be fierce anymore. When he saw Lu Yan, he was like a mouse that saw a cat. You look dumb, but you're quite attentive, boss. You flatter me. The blockhead was scared. Bring me the fruit platter. I'm really hungry. Lu Yan beckoned with her finger. The blockhead immediately walked over and put down the fruit platter and coffee. Then he placed a cup in front of Xiao Fei. Lu Yan picked up a piece of watermelon and put it in her mouth. Suddenly she said, I want to eat scallion pancakes. The blockhead was puzzled. When I was in Chinatown, I would eat some local snacks. I like scallion pancakes and rujiamo. Can you buy some for me? Lu Yan's tone was like a spoiled child, making the blockhead uncomfortable. Sure, boss. Wait a moment. I'll be back soon. With that, the burly man rushed out like a gust of wind. After the big man left, Xiao Fei smiled and picked up his coffee. Look at how scared you are. Am I that scary? What do you think? Xiao Fei asked. Then why aren't you afraid of me? Lu Yan asked. Because I'm scarier than you are, Xiao Fei replied shamelessly. Psycho Xiao, do you know what I like most about you? What? I like how shameless you are. Lu Yan lowered her head and continued eating the watermelon. In less than 10 minutes, the burly man rushed out of the store and bought scallion pancakes and rujiamo. He also bought stinky tofu and potato powder. This was because he guessed that the boss of this boss liked street food. Remember, I only said I wanted rujiamo and scallion pancakes, right? Lu Yan looked at the food and asked. The burly man was shocked and knelt down with a thud. I'm sorry, boss, I'll take the extra ones away right away. Don't. I mean, you bought 2 extra ones for me. They're all my favorites. Good job. Lu Yan said with a smile. The burly man was dumbfounded again. He almost peed himself just now because Boss Paul told him to treat her well. He had to serve this great aunt well. If he wasn't careful, he might lose his head. It wasn't a bluff. It was true. Lu Yan was famous in the mercenary world for being a murderous maniac. She never felt guilty about killing people. Because that was what she was supposed to do. She held the record for the most kills in the mercenary world. Once she fought with a group of drug lords in Mexico. Lu Yan killed 57 people. She used knives, guns, and even grenades. The scene was quite explosive. You seem to be afraid of me. Lu Yan took a bite of the scallion pancake and looked up at the blockhead with a smile. Her smile scared the hell out of him. Chapter 2994. No, the big guy stammered. So you're not afraid of me? Am I that weak? Lu Yan pursed her lips. No. Lu Yan's clever little brain spun the big guy in circles, making him feel what it was like to be in a life-and-death situation. Talking to Lu Yen was like talking to the Grim Reaper. His head could fall to the ground at any moment. Hey, are you done? Xiao Fei couldn't stand it anymore. Yes, Psycho Xiao. Do you want a bite? It's delicious. Lu Yen waved the scallion pancake in her hand. No. I'm not interested. You don't know how to enjoy life. The big guy looked at Lu Yen and asked meekly, boss's boss. If there's nothing else, can I go out now? Sure. Hearing Lu Yan's words, the big guy immediately ran out of the room, not daring to look back. Look at how scared he is. Xiao Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After all, Lu Yan was still young. When she was playful, she was like an unreasonable child, which made people feel awkward and at a loss for what to do. I'd love to. As soon as Lu Yan said that, Paul came back, covered in dust. Behind him was Yen Ruoshi, whose mouth was sealed with tape. Paul's intelligence was accurate. When he drove out, he had ordered his men to track her down. When he learned that Yen Ruoshi was at the socialite ball, he immediately went to kidnap her. When Yen Ruoshi saw Lu Yen, she didn't know who these people were. She kept moaning and didn't know what to say. Boss, she's here. Paul stood on the side respectfully. 27 minutes. Lu Yen glanced at her watch and found Paul had arrived just in time. She stood up and walked up to Yen Ruoshi. Then she tore off the tape on her mouth. Yen Ruoshi frowned slightly in pain. Her mouth was red and swollen. Who are you? Do you know who I am? Yen Ruoshi was arrogant. Not only do we know who you are, we also know who your father is. Lu Yen chuckled. Yen Ruoshi was slightly startled at first, then glanced at her. Since you know, why don't you let me go? If my father finds out, you'll be dead. Do you really need to show off your father's small rank? I even beat up the president's girl. You? Yen Ruoshi suddenly realized that the girl in front of her had a certain charm that she had seen before. For a moment she couldn't remember who she looked like. Woman, I don't like to talk nonsense. Let's get straight to the point. From now on you have to answer every question I ask you. Otherwise, I might add something to your story. Then Paul moved a chair behind Lu Yen and she sat down. Lu Yen was playing with some throwing knives in her hands. She lowered her head and kept a distance of 5 meters from Yen Ruoshi. Lu Yen looked at Yen Ruoshi and asked, Do you know about Hua Xiqian's plan? What Hua Xiqian? What plan? Yen Ruoshi played dumb. The moment she said that, Lu Yen threw out a throwing knife and nailed it into Yen Ruoshi's shoulder. Yen Ruoshi yelled in pain. She had never imagined that the 20-year-old girl in front of her could be so cruel. Who are you? Why are you doing this to me? Yen Ruoshi didn't dare to be arrogant anymore and burst into tears. Chapter 2995. Second question, is Hua Xiqian really dead? I don't know. I really don't know. He won't tell me anything. Yen Ruoshi shook her head in tears. With a swoosh, Lu Yan's throwing knife pierced into her left calf. Yen Ruoshi was driven crazy by the pain. Please don't kill me. How much money do you want? My daddy has it. Yen Ruoshi usually looked feisty, but she had princess syndrome. She always talked about money as if her family was the richest in the world. Money? No, I'm not interested in it at all. I've done more business than your daddy in his lifetime. I advise you to tell the truth. I really don't know. Yen Ruoshi broke down and cried. Third question. When did Hua Xiqian start planning this plan? Lu Yen asked. Yen Ruoshi didn't dare to say she didn't know anymore because she saw the throwing knife in Lu Yan's hand was ready to strike. If this went on, sooner or later she would have many bloody holes in her body. If she told the truth, she might be able to survive. So this time, Yen Ruoshi learned her lesson. Hua Xiqian's plan must have been planned for many years. But the real execution started from our fake wedding. Good. You finally said something useful. Lu Yen nodded in satisfaction and glanced at Yen Ruoshi. Continue. I'll tell you everything I know. Please don't kill me, okay? Yen Ruoshi cried and begged for mercy. Tell me first. Lu Yan's voice was soft, but anyone who heard it would be scared. I've been working for Hua Xiqian for many years, but he didn't let me know many things. I really don't know much. I only know that Hua Xiqian really likes Hua Min. He likes Hua Min so much that he wants to get Hua Min to stay by his side. He must have a big plan, but I really don't know what it is. He said that marrying me was just a cover. I thought he would do it on the wedding day, but he didn't. Later I moved to my own house and lived separately from him. He didn't look for me. I think he must be busy with his plan. Later, after Hua Xiqian's accident, one of his former subordinates sold the information to me for 200,000 yuan. He said he died and jumped off a cliff with Huamin in his arms. That's all I know. Hearing this, Lu Yan was silent. Oh, I know that he has a split personality. Split personality? Lu Yan looked up. Yeah. He has a split personality and has been taking a psychotropic drug for a long time. If he forgets to take it and is stimulated, he'll turn into another person. It's very scary. Do you believe that Hua Xiqian jumped off a cliff and died? Lu Yan asked Yan Ruoshi. To be honest, it's hard to say. It's possible. One is that he's very cunning and it might just be a plan. Another is that he's split into another personality. Then, anything is possible. After all, that personality is very extreme. I see. Lu Yan didn't seem surprised at all. I think if you want to know more, you can go and catch Ah Cheng. He's Hua Xiqian's most trusted subordinate, Yan Ruoshi said. I don't need you to teach me that. Lu Yan rolled her eyes at this woman. Boss, what should we do now? Let her go, Lu Yan ordered Paul. Won't she cause trouble for us if we let her go? Paul looked like he wanted to kill her. Does she dare? Lu Yan smiled contemptuously. Then she stood up and walked out. Psycho Chow, let's go. Boss, I've prepared a place for you to stay. No. I have more important things to do now. Then Lu Yan went downstairs in a dashing manner. Chapter 2996. Qiao Fei's personality was the complete opposite of Lu Yan's. He was a man of few words and would do whatever you said. He could even help you at a critical moment. Lu Yan was used to being alone. Now that Qiao Fei was with her, she was used to following him around like a shadow. Before they left, Qiao Fei knew it would be cold outside, so he went into a branded clothing store and bought a black suit for Lu Yan without saying a word. When Lu Yan turned around, he put the suit on her. You're so fast. It was hard to imagine that someone could buy a suit worth tens of thousands of yuan in less than 2 minutes. Only Qiao Fei could do this. It's cold here at night, Qiao Fei said. I'm not even afraid of death. Why would I be afraid of catching a cold? Lu Yan chuckled. You're not afraid, but I am. Then Qiao Fei walked forward without a change in his expression, ignoring Lu Yan. But hearing his words, Lu Yan felt warm in her heart. For so many years, other than her dad and sister, Qiao Fei was the only person who treated her the best. Although her dad and sister were her closest relatives, they spent very little time with her. On the other hand, Psycho Qiao had been with her since they eloped in Russia. Although nothing had happened between them, they had grown attached to each other after spending so much time together. Lu Yan and Qiao Fei were both decisive people. So they left the bar and went to South Side. Paul, that fellow, was very sensible. He had prepared a supercar for his master. So in less than 15 minutes, Lu Yan arrived at the military hospital. The military hospital had strict security. Usually when people came to see Qing Chu, they were let in by Su Yu. But Lu Yan didn't. But this wasn't a problem for her. The girl took almost 50 seconds to get through the military hospital's surveillance system. Then he swaggered into the building under the surveillance cameras. But the ward area upstairs was a bit troublesome because Su Yu had sent bodyguards to guard it 24/7. So, are we going to fight again? Qiao Fei stood behind Lu Yan and glanced at the 4 bodyguards at the door. Fight? Oh no, I never do such a rude thing. Stop pretending. You really don't fight. You've always killed people. Qiao Fei exposed Lu Yan's lie. Ah, Psycho Qiao, can you not be so blunt? Save me some face. So are you going to do it, or should I? I already said that we don't need to do anything. You're not going to use explosives again, are you? This is a military hospital. You'd better be careful, Qiao Fei advised. He knew Lu Yan was a woman who would use explosives without warning. Therefore he was really worried that she would find it troublesome and directly use small explosives. No need. Watch me. Then Lu Yan took off her suit and strutted over. In the past she had sprayed something on herself. It smelled very good, even stronger than perfume. Stop. Oh, I'm here to see my friend. What's your friend's surname? The bodyguard asked with a dark expression. His last name is Zhang, no Zhao, right? Lu Yan made up a story. He's not the person you're looking for. There's only one patient on this floor. This is a restricted area and no one is allowed to enter. Oh, he's a military leader. Lu Yan gossiped. Don't ask too much. It won't do you any good. Little girl, let's go, the bodyguard urged. Hey. Goodbye. Lu Yan waved her hand with a smile. As soon as she finished speaking, the 4 bodyguards fell to the ground. Chapter 2997. Done. Lu Yan clapped her hands. Qiao Fei was no longer curious about Lu Yan's eccentricities. He didn't know where she got all kinds of poisons, drugs and bombs. He heard that a drug manufacturing base once offered Lu Yan 10 billion yuan to join them. They wanted her to be a master pharmacist, but she refused. She said that a girl who didn't want to be a top mercenary wasn't a girl with dreams. Later, when those people failed to recruit her, they felt humiliated and began to hunt her down. Lu Yan played a cat-and-mouse game with them for half a year. In the end, she ran to their headquarters impatiently and blew them up like a ticking time bomb. From then on, not many people dared to mess with Lu Yan. Because of the professor's relationship, the United States federal government turned a blind eye to this matter and did not thoroughly investigate it. Other than Ian and the other aliens, Lu Yan was the queen of this world. After knocking out the 4 bodyguards with her homemade drugs, Lu Yan asked Qiao Fei to drag them to the hospital warehouse across the street. The 2 of them entered Qin Chu's intensive care unit and locked the door. Lu Yan slowly approached the man on the bed. He had mixed feelings. After all, he was the man her sister loved deeply. He was also Qiao Fei's benefactor who once performed surgery on him in Russia. Brother-in-law's condition makes me sad. Maybe he cares about Sister Mian too much. Lu Yan sat on the chair and turned on the Bluetooth on her watch. She cracked the password and connected to the hospital's database. Then she easily pulled up Qin Chu's diagnosis data from the hospital's database. After reading it, Lu Yan fell silent. What's wrong? Qiao Fei saw something wrong with her. Psycho Qiao, we're in trouble. Since you're talking about trouble, it seems like it's a difficult thing to deal with, Qiao Fei said. My brother-in-law's condition is manageable. The toxins in his body are hard to remove. He made his own medicine and he's unconscious. No one knows the ingredients. I don't have much talent in medicine, unlike my sister. She inherited my mother's genes, so she's much better than me. But now she's in trouble. Lu Yan analyzed the current situation. So what should we do now? Should we help brother-in-law wake up first, or should we look for sister's whereabouts? Qiao Fei asked. Let brother-in-law wake up first because his life will be in danger if this drags on. Are you going to take him away? Qiao Fei knew from Lu Yan's tone that there was no cure for Qin Chu in China. Therefore, they guessed that Lu Yan would take Qin Chu away without anyone noticing. No, brother-in-law can't take it anymore. I'll ask my father to come over. Professor? Qiao Fei was surprised. Other than him, I don't think anyone else can cure brother-in-law, Lu Yan said with certainty. But can the professor come out? Qiao Fei had always known the professor's situation, so he was still a little uncertain. Of course, I will find a way. At this time, the doctor and nurse came to check on the ward. He found it strange that he didn't see any bodyguards at the door. When he opened the door of the ward, he found that it was locked from the inside. It was even more strange. Who's inside? Asked the doctor outside. Lu Yan pulled Qiao Fei open the window and jumped down from the building. Then used the rope to leave. When the doctor came in, he found the window was open and there were signs that someone had come in. He was terrified. Immediately he called Suyu. When Suyu picked up the phone, he was having dinner with the twins. What's up? Young Master Su, bad news. A stranger broke into Mr. Qin's room and your bodyguards are missing. What did you say? Furious, Suyu stood up with a whoosh. Chapter 2998. Suyu couldn't sit still when he received a call from the hospital. Pudding, you guys eat first. I'm going out to do something. Suyu left the house in a hurry after a few bites. After Pudding and the others finished eating, they went back to their room to play. Maybe because they missed their mother, the 2 kids weren't in the mood to play just like before. Lady Su gave them a lot of fruits, but they weren't in the mood to eat. Sis, yeah? Pudding turned to look at her. I miss Mommy so much. Pudding didn't say anything. Sis, why hasn't Mommy come back yet? Daddy hasn't called us or come to see us. Pudding, who was in the dark, was a little depressed. As the older sister, Pudding was more sensible and took on more responsibilities. She reached out her chubby little hand and patted her sister's head. Good girl, Mommy will come back. Daddy will find her for sure. But I'm not sure. We've been here for a few days. Daddy hasn't come to pick us up. which means mommy hasn't been found yet. Huasichen is a big bad guy. He's always thinking about mommy. Will he take mommy somewhere far away and not let her come back? Pudding bit her lip as tears welled up in her eyes. Oh, how can Huasichen be better than daddy? Don't be silly. We have to believe in him. I'll go take a shower first. When I come out I'll have a video call with Gaobuin. Then Pudding took her nightgown and walked into the bathroom. The Su family's housekeeper had prepared warm water for her. After Pudding went in, the housekeeper followed her in to help her wash up. Pudding stood alone in front of the window and looked into the distance, feeling very bad. Suyu had been leaving early and coming home late recently, so Pudding didn't know what to ask. Last time at the hospital, Pudding also heard what Professor Luo said. The chances of Daddy waking up were very, very low. If Daddy didn't wake up, no one would go to find Mommy. Suyu's power alone was next to nothing. It wasn't that she didn't trust Suyu, but she wasn't sure. The two people who were the closest to each other, the most loved ones, ended up like this. She and Little Bean were fostered by the Su family. Although the Su family treated the sisters very well, the children still felt burdened in their hearts. No matter how good this place was, it wasn't home. Mommy, Daddy, I beg you, please come back quickly. Little Bean and I can't hold on any longer. We really, really miss you guys, Pudding said, choking with sobs. When Suyu went to the hospital, Lu Yen and Xiao Fei had already left without leaving a trace. Even the unconscious bodyguard couldn't remember what the girl who had drugged him looked like after waking up. When Suyu went to check the surveillance video, he was surprised to find that the video had been erased and he couldn't find any clues. Have you checked? Is there anything wrong with Chinchu? Suyu looked at the doctor worriedly. No, young Master Su, don't worry. Mr. Chin's condition is normal. Maybe those people weren't in a hurry to make a move. That's amazing. They were able to infiltrate the military's defense system without anyone noticing. Then they were able to drug my bodyguard. From the looks of it, they were prepared. We have to be extra careful, the doctor said. Did you find out what drug was used to drug my bodyguard? Suyu also wanted to know who the culprit was. Chapter 2999. Not yet. I just did a preliminary analysis. I've never seen or heard of this kind of composition before. The doctor answered shamefully. Suyu put his hand on his forehead, feeling very troubled. Chinchu's condition and Huamin's lack of news were already torturous enough. Now someone was trying to hit on Chinchu. It was simply, at the Su family mansion after showering, the twins were listening to music and reading in bed. They were very obedient. Little Bean was video chatting with Gao Buyin, but she fell asleep in the middle of the conversation. Pudding turned off the video chat. Pudding turned off Little Bean's cell phone and was about to go to the bathroom. She didn't even notice that the window had been opened. Pudding. A very soft voice startled Pudding. Do you still remember me? Lu Yen sat on the windowsill and smiled coolly. Auntie. Pudding's memory was amazing, so she immediately remembered Lu Yen when she saw her. Mommy said she was very close to her auntie. Many of her and her sister's expensive jewelry were bought by her auntie. Good girl, come and hug me. Lu Yen opened her arms and Pudding rushed over and hugged Lu Yen tightly. Strangely, she spent very little time with Lu Yen. She couldn't compare with Qin Ning, let alone Jiang Shaowei and Zhu Lingling. However, when she saw Lu Yen, she felt an inexplicable closeness to her, as if she had known her for a long time. Pudding's voice trembled when she called Lu Yan's name. Lu Yen lifted the child's chin and saw she was crying. Why are you crying? Are you not happy to see me? No, I'm happy to see you. Are you crying tears of joy? Lu Yen chuckled. Auntie, do you know, you have a very special smell. It's very similar to my mommy's, Pudding said slowly. To be honest, Pudding's words hurt Lu Yan's heart. Pudding, I know what happened to your mommy. Andy came back this time because of this. Auntie, mommy said you're very, very good. Really? Did your mommy say that about me? Pudding nodded vigorously. Mommy said that Auntie is very outstanding. You can do anything. Nothing can stop you. Yes, so. Auntie said that she would definitely help you find your mommy and save your daddy. Do you believe her? I do. Pudding nodded happily. Where's Little Bean? Why did she fall asleep so early? Lu Yen jumped off the windowsill with Little Bean in her arms and landed without making a sound. It was obvious that he was skilled. Yeah, she's been in a bad mood for the past 2 days. Maybe she misses mommy and daddy a lot. I've been keeping it from her so she doesn't know the details. Good job. You're good at taking care of your sister. Lu Yan gave Pudding a thumbs up. Lu Yan walked up to Little Bean, lowered her head and gently kissed her forehead. My little piggy. Looks exactly like your elder sister. Two little cuties. To be honest, Lu Yan's feelings for Huamin and the twins were deeper than anyone could imagine. The Su family's defense was very strong, but Lu Yan still broke through it. Qiao Fei was waiting outside and didn't come in. Because of her special status, she couldn't talk to Su Yu directly and could only see the kids in private. Pudding, Auntie has good news for you. What good news? Do you want to see your grandpa? Lu Yan asked. Grandpa? Pudding suddenly remembered the old man she saw in the US. Mommy told her that he was her grandpa. It was amazing. Didn't this grandma's husband die? Mommy didn't say much, so Pudding didn't dare to ask. Yes. Then let's call him and ask him to come back and save your daddy, okay? Lu Yan pointed at the smart watch on her wrist and looked at Pudding lovingly. Chapter 3000. Okay. Pudding didn't know how capable her grandpa was, but her auntie must have her reasons for saying so. Then Lu Yan pressed the button on her watch. She heard the beeping sound of a phone call. Pudding was a little nervous. What's up? The professor's image appeared in front of her watch. He was wearing a white lab coat and a mask. Obviously he was in a lab. Dad, look who this is. Lu Yan pointed the camera at Pudding's small body. The moment the professor saw the little girl, his sharp eyes softened. Is this Pudding or Little Bean? The professor asked lovingly. Pudding, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and greet him. Lu Yan nudged Pudding's arm and reminded her. The little girl called out sweetly, Grandpa. Hey, good. This is Pudding. She looks exactly like Little Bean. The professor had a bunch of photos of the children. He missed his granddaughter so much that he couldn't put into words. Once upon a time he had always wanted to complete this plan as soon as possible. Then he would come back early to see Huamian and the children. Grandpa, we're different. Little Bean is fatter than me. Pudding said. How good. Grandpa will remember this. The fatter one is Little Bean and the thinner one is Pudding. The professor laughed. Dad, this is Little Bean. Then Lu Yan pointed the camera at Little Bean, who was sleeping like a little pig. Oh. She fell asleep. Yeah. Dad, aren't you curious why I came back? Lu Yan suddenly asked. Why did you go back? Ian hasn't dealt with you yet. Should be careful. The professor didn't want Lu Yan to come back. He didn't want Lu Yan to be with her sister because he didn't want to drag Huamin down with her. He didn't want to disrupt their normal lives. Dad, something happened here. My sister was dragged off a cliff and we don't know if she's dead or alive. My sister's husband was so shocked by what happened that he vomited blood and fainted. What did you say? The professor was shocked. Dad, I'm telling you the truth. Time is precious, and to prevent that despicable Ian from tracking my phone signal, I'll make it short. I'm sending Chinchu's medical record to your email. You'll understand once you read it. Okay. After that, the professor was about to hang up the phone. Lu Yan dragged Pudding to the camera again. Wait, Dad. Pudding has something to say to you. Normal kids would be dumbfounded by Lu Yan's impromptu act. But Pudding wasn't an ordinary child. She was a child prodigy who had inherited the powerful genes of her parents. Pudding looked at the professor with her big watery eyes and said word by word, Grandpa, I beg you, please come back and save Daddy. We can't lose him. Daddy is alive, he can help us find Mommy. Little Bean and I don't want to become wild children without parents. The professor almost burst into tears when he heard that. Her heart was as sad as it could be, especially when she looked at the innocent eyes of the child. Don't worry, child. Leave it to me. The professor could not stand his granddaughter's pitiful look. Hearing the professor's words, Lu Yan immediately said, Dad, you agreed? Then you should arrange for him to return as soon as possible. Brother-in-law's condition is very serious. That's all. Then without giving the professor a chance to speak, Lu Yan hung up the phone. Then Lu Yan looked at Pudding and smirked. Not bad, girl. You reacted quickly. Grandpa, can you really save Daddy? Pudding asked seriously. Chapter 3001. Of course. I'm not bragging, but your grandpa's medical skills are unparalleled in the world. There's no one he can't save. Then Lu Yan added in a low voice, except for your grandmom. What did you say, Auntie? Pudding didn't hear her clearly. Oh, nothing. I said since your grandpa promised you he'll be back soon. With him here, don't worry. That's great, Auntie. Pudding held Lu Yan's hand excitedly. At this moment, Lady Sue's voice came from outside the door. Pudding, are you asleep? Grandma Sue, what's up? Pudding immediately replied. I made you a bowl of pear soup with rock sugar. You've been coughing lately. Hey, I'll open the door for you right away. Hearing Pudding's words, Lu Yan reached out to touch her face. Go ahead. I'll leave now. Auntie, when will you come back? I'm not sure. Auntie, can you come and see me often? I'm happy to see you when Mommy isn't here. Pudding held Lu Yan's hand reluctantly. I promise I'll come and see you and Little Bean again. Don't tell anyone about what happened today, including Grandpa. Got it? Hey, I got it. Good girl. I'll leave now. Close the window. Then Pudding saw Lu Yan jump onto the windowsill and jump down from the building without hesitation. Although it wasn't very high, was it okay for her to do that? It was like a stunt in a movie. If Little Bean saw it, she would think it was Spider-Man. After Lu Yan left, Pudding went to open the door for Lady Sue. After Su Yu finished his treatment at the hospital, he received a call from Gao Ran before he went home. Then he went directly to the Municipal Public Security Bureau. Ever since Qin Chu and his wife's accident, Gao Ran hadn't had a good night's sleep. He had been in charge of the Municipal Public Security Bureau. Chief, Mr. Su is here. The policeman brought Su Yu to Gao Ran's office. Lord Su, I heard that something happened at the hospital? Gao Ran asked. Yeah. Someone snuck into Qin Chu's room and drugged my bodyguard without anyone noticing. So powerful. Who has such great ability? Gao Ran was also curious. What's the situation on your side? Su Yu looked at Gao Ran. All right. I want to ask you something. Did you torture and kill Huamin's subordinates because you wanted to interrogate Hua Xiqian about his whereabouts? Torture. Su Yu was a little confused. Gao Ran took out some photos of the victims. They were all bloody and threw them directly on the table. Look at these. Su Yu picked it up and looked at it. He frowned slightly. I didn't do this. I don't think it's you either because it's very cruel. They all slit the throat. That is to say, in addition to us, someone else is catching Hua Xiqian's subordinates and has killed 7 people in a row in one day. When did this happen? Su Yu was shocked. It happened tonight. The last victim died less than 5 hours ago. Could it be? It has something to do with the person who snuck into Qin Chu's ward. Fu pondered. Now we don't know the identity of the other party and what their purpose is. Seems that we have to be more careful. Gao Ran said. Gao Ran, can you contact Dacheng? You're looking for him? Yes. There must be a reason why Qin Chu trusts him so much. I want to see him and ask him about some details. Su Yu didn't want to let go of any information about Huamin. After the incident, that kid went into hiding. However, Qin Chu has arranged a place for his child to recuperate, so I should be able to find him. Su Yu nodded and turned to leave. Gao Ran asked behind him, Lord Su, have you thought about what you would do if Huamin really died? Chapter 3002. To be honest, I don't believe Huamin is dead. Then Su Yu turned around and left. Gao Ran admired Su Yu's obsession with Huamin. It was almost as strong as Qin Chu. Thinking of Qin Chu, who was still in the ICU, Gao Ran felt bad. After leaving the Su family, Lu Yan and Xiao Fei walked back. When they passed by a night market pedestrian street, they directly stopped the supercar at the side. Psycho Qiao, are you hungry? ? Xiao Fei looked at her, confused. Do you want to have a midnight snack with me? Lu Yan smiled. You're still in the mood for a midnight snack? It seems there's progress. Xiao Fei knew Lu Yan well. Smart. You can't figure out what's going on. Is the professor coming back? Xiao Fei asked slowly. Did you eavesdrop on my phone call? Lu Yan was anxious. I'm sorry. I was standing guard upstairs and was thousands of miles away from you. How could I hear your phone call? How did you guess so accurately? I know you well. Xiao Fei looked calm. You're almost as good as the worm in my stomach. You actually guessed it. It's not hard to guess. The only person who can save Qin Chu is the professor. Xiao Fei sighed. It's my fault for not being a good student. I was only interested in explosives. If only I was like my sister and had the talent to save people. Unfortunately, I've only been able to kill people since I was young. I can't save people. Aren't you hungry? Do you want to go? Qiao Fei opened the car door. Qiao Fei and Lu Yan sat at a roadside stall. There were all kinds of Xinjiang meat skewers, fried chicken legs and grilled squid. Lu Yan had always loved food. Since she was back in China, she ate until she was full before leaving. Paul had prepared an exquisitely decorated mansion for Lu Yan and Qiao Fei. Both of them were exhausted. As soon as Lu Yan came back, she did a lot of big things. He had killed so many of Hu Xiqian's men and kidnapped Yan Ruoxi. None of them were not earth-shattering. Qiao Fei knew that Lu Yan suffered the most when Huamin got into trouble. She always felt guilty that she didn't meticulously arrange more people to come over. Otherwise, her sister wouldn't have encountered such a calamity. Lying on the big soft bed, Lu Yan still couldn't fall asleep. "Sis, I'll find you. I won't give up," Lu Yan said. The next morning Lu Yan got up early and had a quick bite with Qiao Fei before driving out. They sped all the way to the top of Yuewang Mountain. Today, Lu Yan was wearing a navy blue mid-length trench coat with her long hair hanging loose. At the top of the mountain, Lu Yan squatted down to check a few spots. "According to those people's testimonies, this is where my sister was killed, I think," Lu Yan said. "Yes, but it's really high up here. If Sister Mian falls from this height, her chances of survival are slim," Qiao Fei analyzed. Ba, don't jinx it." "I'm not jinxing it. I'm just stating the truth. You have a lot of combat experience. Tell me, am I right? Of course I'll check it myself. I won't believe anyone's words." Lu Yan stood at the edge of the cliff at the top of the mountain and looked down at the churning sea. About 5 seconds later, she leaped into the air. "Yan." Qiao Fei's heart almost jumped out of his chest. Lu Yan had jumped off the cliff without warning. Even if he wanted to stop her, it was too late. Qiao Fei watched as Lu Yan jumped down without hesitation. Chapter 3003. Qiao Fei almost jumped down with her. However, when he reached the edge of the cliff, he looked down and saw Lu Yan had used a zipline to hang herself in the air. Then she slid down the zipline bit by bit and checked down. "Lu Yan, little bastard, just you wait." Qiao Fei was relieved when he saw that she was fine. Then he remembered that the cold and taciturn Psycho Qiao had cursed for the first time. It was also the first time he called Lu Yan a little bastard. Lu Yan looked up at Qiao Fei, whose face was pale with fright, with a smile. "Little bastard, who are you cursing?" "Of course I'm cursing you, you damned girl." Qiao Fei really wanted to strangle Lu Yan. "Yes, you're cursing me, you little bastard." Qiao Fei. At a time like this, she was still in the mood to play word games with him and take advantage of him. Only Lu Yan would do something like this. Then Lu Yan carefully looked down at the rocks on the edge of the cliff. She wanted to see if there was a place to hide. Did Hu Xiqian do something when he jumped down with Huamin? But she found nothing. Well, if there was really something strange, Suyu would have found it long ago and wouldn't have waited for her to show up. Until she reached the surface of the sea, Lu Yan stopped and paused for 5 seconds. Then she jumped into the sea with a splash. If he didn't know that she was a good swimmer, Qiao Fei would probably be worried sick again. A few minutes later, Lu Yan climbed up along the rope and got up in no time. Qiao Fei hurriedly pulled Lu Yan, who was dripping wet, onto the bed. "Psycho Qiao." Before Lu Yan could speak, Qiao Fei held her tightly in his arms. She almost couldn't breathe. "Ahem. Damn you. Let go of me. Are you trying to kill me?" Lu Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "In the future, if you do something risky like this again, do you dare to tell me in advance?" Qiao Fei was so scared that his heart was about to jump out of his chest. He thought that Lu Yan had taken things too hard and jumped down to commit suicide. But after 10 seconds he immediately lowered his head to check. With Lu Yan's ability, it wouldn't be hard for her to do this. "Don't you know me best? How could such a small matter stump me?" "Alright, I just made a discovery." "What did you find?" Qiao Fei let go of Lu Yan slowly. "Hu Xiqian is really smart. There aren't any marks on the surface of the cliff all the way to the surface of the sea, but there's something at the bottom of the sea." "Seabed." Lu Yan nodded. "There's an area less than 3 square meters below. The sea is very deep, like a whirlpool. But it doesn't look like a natural cave. It looks more like a man-made one. I went down the cave and found a cave inside. Not only is it big enough for 2 or 3 people, but there are other exits as well," Lu Yan said with a smile. Qiao Fei immediately understood. "Hu Xiqian sure is smart. Does that mean Sister Mian is fine?" Of course. My sister is very lucky. I'm sure she'll be fine. Lu Yan had long suspected that it was Hua Xiqian's doing, but after confirming it herself she was even happier. The question is, how did Hua Xiqian take Sister Mian away? Where did they go? Qiao Fei asked. That's what worries me the most. Hua Xiqian's plan is so meticulous that it's not strange that Yan Ruoshi doesn't know about it. But I don't think he trusts anyone, right? Ian probably doesn't know either. I think I'm going to meet someone now. Who? Qiao Fei looked at Lu Yan in confusion. Chapter 3004. Su Yu. You want to see Su Yu? Yes. After my sister and brother-in-law got into trouble, Su Yu handled a lot of things. I think he should have a lot of the information I need. But does Su Yu know who you are? Qiao Fei thought that the fewer people who knew about Lu Yan's identity, the better. After all, she was being hunted by people everywhere. He doesn't need to know who I am. He just needs to know that I want to help him. Then Lu Yan put on her windbreaker and walked down the mountain. Despite her young age, Lu Yan was very efficient in her work. Meanwhile, on a deserted island, Huamin slowly opened her eyes. To be honest, the moment Hua Xiqian jumped down with her in his arms, she thought she was going to die. Huamin, who usually didn't even dare to ride roller coasters and drop towers, was dragged down to die together with someone. It felt like she had come into contact with death in an instant and didn't even have time to say her last words. Then her mind went blank. She couldn't remember what happened next. Huamin opened her eyes and saw a wooden roof. Then she slowly looked around. He discovered that this was a small wooden hut. The decoration was simple but very warm. There were a few pots of flowers on the windowsill. She was lying on a thick mattress under the bed with a floral quilt. The pillow under her head was also very retro. It was the kind of pillow that was made of wood. This place didn't look like heaven at all. So Huamin thought that maybe she wasn't dead yet. Could it be that she had transmigrated or something? She was really afraid that she had transmigrated to ancient times. It would be better for her to die. Mian, you're finally awake. The man who opened the door saw Huamin's eyes open and immediately smiled. The moment she heard Hua Xiqian's voice, Huamin's heart fell to the bottom again. Hua Xiqian, you're not dead yet. Hua Xiqian was wearing a simple white sweatshirt and brown cotton pants. There was a hint of China style but more of a rural feeling. It was just my plan, he said. Neither of us is dead. Where is this place? Where did you take me? Looking at the unfamiliar environment, Huamin was very conflicted. This is a very place where no one can find us. It's a deserted island. Are a psycho. Upon hearing that it was a deserted island, Huamin collapsed again. I was supposed to take you to my private island. There's a mansion, a garden, maids, gardeners, and a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. It's like heaven, but that island isn't safe yet and will be discovered. So, I plan to stay here for 3 to 5 years. When Qin Chu and Su Yu give up looking for you and everyone thinks that you're really dead, I'll take you back to that island, okay? As Hua Xiqian spoke, he squatted down and looked gently into Huamin's eyes. He spoke as if he was coaxing a child. Hua Xiqian, what's the point of doing this? You're imprisoning me? Huamin was very angry and wanted to resist, but he couldn't summon any strength. No, this isn't imprisoning. Mian, this is companionship. I'm the only man who can be with you for the longest time. As he spoke, he placed his big hand on Huamin's shoulder. Go away. Don't touch me. Huamin struggled emotionally. Be careful, you're pregnant. Hua Xiqian reminded gently. Huamin immediately looked at him in alarm and surprise. Chapter 3005. Don't look at me like that. I've known for a long time that you're pregnant. Upon hearing Hua Xiqian's words, Huamin subconsciously reached out to protect his child. Don't worry, I won't hurt him. Upon seeing that Huamin didn't say anything, Hua Xiqian continued. Mian, we've already left that dangerous place. From now on, it's just the two of us on this island. I'll let you give birth to the child safely so you can live here with me, okay? Hua Xiqian, are you crazy? Huamin couldn't take it any. I am crazy, I've been crazy for many years. Mian, it doesn't matter if you want to or not, you're living here with me. You have no other choice. This is an uninhabited island that isn't even on the map. Plus, I've installed a signal jamming device so no one will find this place. Someone will bring us water and food regularly. We can live here without any worries, isn't that great? No, I don't want to live here. Want to go home? Huamin wanted to get up, but he realized that his body was limp and weak. So, he lay back down on the pillow. What did you do to me? Huamin glared at Huasiqian. You're pregnant right now, what else can I do to you? You've only been unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights. You don't have any strength left. What? I've been unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights? Huamin was slightly surprised. Then 3 days and 3 nights must have been a long time for Qingchu, right? Mian, everyone thinks that we're dead. Qingchu saw me jump off the cliff with your own eyes. There was tumbling seawater below. No one knows that we're still alive. I'm doing this for your own good. Did you know that Ian has been looking for you? I've been helping you hide this from him, but he's so smart his lies were quickly exposed. Ian isn't as merciful as I am. He kills without batting an eyelid. Otherwise, your father and sister wouldn't be so scared of him. You make it sound like you're my savior. Huamin lay flat on the pillow and sneered slightly. I just want to say that the situation is already like this. You should accept reality, okay? After speaking, Huasiqian turned around and poured boiling water into a wooden basin on the ground. Then he added cold water and washed a white towel with the warm water inside. Then he was going to wipe Huamin's face. I said get away, don't you hear me? Don't touch me, don't, or I'll die. Huamin was also going crazy. When he found out that he was brought to an uninhabited island and that his signal was jammed, he was devastated. Huamin's heart was devastated and tortured. Finally, at this moment he exploded. Huasiqian was indeed kind enough to wipe her face. But at this moment she thought of her husband and daughters. That feeling was worse than death. If Qingchu thought that she was dead, he would definitely be sad to death, right? And the twins, if they knew that they would never see their mommy again, they would definitely be sad. At this thought, Huamin broke down and cried for the first time. Huasiqian didn't dare to approach her anymore. Instead, he turned around and closed the door, leaving Huamin alone in silence. Lu Yan originally planned to meet Su Yu. However, she received a tip from her subordinate at the last minute. Boss, Ian will arrive in Sea City in 3 hours. After hearing this, Lu Yan's expression changed slightly. Her worst fears came true. At such a critical moment, Ian, that big bastard, actually came. What's wrong? Xiao Fei asked her from behind. The weather is going to change. Lu Yan looked up at the hazy sky and said word by word. Chapter 3006. Hearing Lu Yan's words, Xiao Fei could guess what she meant. So he didn't ask any more questions and quietly stayed by her side. Xiao Fei thought Lu Yan would ask Paul to set things up and then have a big fight with Ian. Unexpectedly, Lu Yan went to the Su family. Only Lu Yan could come and go as she pleased in a heavily guarded place like the Su families. Pudding and Little Bean were playing in the living room while Lady Su and the maids were planting camellias in the living room. There were many fresh bouquets in the living room while Little Bean played with Lady Su with a pair of scissors. Pudding sat quietly with her phone in her hand and seemed to have a lot on her mind. Hiss! Lu Yan made a strange noise in the kitchen towards the living room. Unfortunately, Pudding was too focused on her phone and didn't hear it. Damn it. My niece is really obsessed with her phone. Seems I need to play with something more advanced. Then Lu Yan turned on her watch and quickly entered Pudding's phone. Pudding was browsing some news when she suddenly received a message. Pudding, come to the kitchen. Pudding froze and immediately turned her head to see her auntie in the kitchen. She looked at everyone vigilantly. Seeing that no one was looking at her, she got up and ran to the kitchen. Sis, where are you going? Little Bean looked at her sister curiously. I'm going to get a glass of water, Pudding said without looking back. Pudding couldn't suppress her excitement. After entering the kitchen, she even knew to close the door behind her. Then she hugged Lu Yan's leg in her jeans. Auntie. Her voice was very small. Good girl. Lu Yan hugged Pudding with one hand and lifted her up. Although he looked thin and weak, he was extremely strong. Pudding, I have something to do. I might have to leave for a while. Where are you going? Pudding's eyes were filled with disappointment. I have to deal with bad guys. Then, when will you come back? Pudding pouted. I'll come back when your daddy recovers. But, I don't want you to leave. Pudding grabbed Lu Yan's clothes tightly and said stubbornly. I know, but Auntie has to lure the bad guys away. Otherwise, Grandpa won't be able to operate on your father. Is Grandpa coming back? Pudding looked up slightly surprised. Lu Yan nodded. So baby, what I'm about to say is very serious. You have to listen carefully, okay? Lu Yen looked at Pudding seriously. Go ahead, Auntie. Pudding nodded. Because Auntie and Grandpa's identities are special and cannot be mentioned to outsiders. When Grandpa comes back, so you will definitely not agree to let Grandpa operate on Daddy. At this time you have to convince Suyu. Grandpa's medical skills are very good. You have to convince Suyu and not reveal Grandpa's identity, okay? That does sound difficult, Pudding mused. Of course. If it wasn't difficult, why would I give it to you? I know you're smart, Auntie, don't flatter me. I'm not as good as you say. I'm just a 3-year-old baby. I even have to drink milk every day. Lu Yen almost laughed out loud. If she wasn't afraid that the people in the living room would hear her, she would have laughed out loud. This kid had fast reflexes. If Auntie doesn't lure the bad guys away, Grandpa won't be able to operate on your daddy. So, we have to work together. If you think it's impossible, Auntie will think of a way. Lu Yen also felt that this was a difficult task for a kid. Chapter 3007. It's okay, Auntie. I can handle it, Pudding said word by word. Are you sure? Yeah. I know how to deal with handsome Su. Pudding looked confident. Hey, little Tsundra. I'll leave this difficult task to you. How can I contact you if there's an emergency? Lu Yen waved the watch on her wrist. I've saved your number. I'll contact you if there's an emergency. Okay. Pudding didn't like to be in a passive position, but she was comforted by her auntie's words. I'll leave now. You can go back now. Little Bean will come to you soon. Auntie. Pudding held Lu Yan's hand reluctantly. Yeah. Be careful when you fight bad guys. Don't get hurt. Okay. Lu Yan's heart warmed at Pudding's words. On her way out, she was still talking to Xiao Fei. What do you think? When my sister comes back, I'll ask her to give me Pudding as my daughter. What do you think? Why? Xiao Fei was speechless. Because Pudding is very sensible and smart. When I came out, she told me to be careful. To be honest, I haven't had such a warm child in a long time. I don't think your sister will agree, Xiao Fei said. Why not? They're twins, why did you have to break them apart? Also, Xiao Fei paused. What do you mean? Lu Yen looked curious. You like kids. Can't you give birth to one yourself? Why do you want to take your sisters? Lu Yen, damn it. Give birth to one myself. Do you want me to give birth to one with you? Lu Yen said in annoyance. Not with me. Do you think you can give birth to one yourself? Xiao Fei said nonchalantly. Xiao Fei, what do you mean? Damn it. You eat and drink my food and want me to give birth to your child. Why do I love you so much? Lu Yen rolled her eyes. Yeah. I don't know why I'm so charming that you love me so much. But, Psycho Qiao, you're shameless. Lu Yen pointed at Xiao Fei and scolded him as they walked. Xiao Fei didn't react until they were out of the city. Are we leaving this place? Xiao Fei wondered. Yeah. But we're not done yet, are we? There's no time. I have to lure Ian away first. Otherwise, how can Father come here? If Ian knows that Father is here, he'll bring the entire army here and start a massacre. I see. Xiao Fei nodded. But don't get me wrong. I'm not pitying you or feeling that you've implicated the people of this city. I'm just worried that Father won't be able to operate on brother-in-law in peace. I understand, you don't have to explain. Xiao Fei knew Lu Yen didn't mean what she said. Although he always said, what does the life or death of others have to do with me? But in fact, Lu Yen had never wrongly killed a good person. Although she was greedy for money, the business she took on was done by those desperados. The people he killed were either terrorists, anti-government leaders, or core members of evil cults. But she always acted as if she was a demoness, a homicidal maniac, and so on. It was as if she was trying to hide the purest kindness in her heart. Xiao Fei loved this side of Lu Yen. After all, she was still a simple girl. On Ian's private plane. Sir, will arrive at the destination in half an hour. The plane is landing now. Please hold on tight. Just as the subordinate finished speaking, the tail of the plane suddenly caught fire. The plane lost its balance and began to descend rapidly. Sir, bad news. Someone hacked our control system remotely. The pilot opened the door and shouted anxiously. Chapter 3008. A bunch of trash. Ian cursed in a low voice. A sweet and delicate oriental face appeared on the monitor in the cabin. Oh, Ian. Long time no see. Oh, it's my beloved baby. Ian looked at Lu Yan's screen and smiled evilly. Since we've been friends for many years, I want to give you a gift. How about a skydive? Are you surprised? Are you surprised? After Lu Yan said this, the plane began to shake violently. The pilot took out a set of emergency bags and handed it to Ian. Sir, the plane is about to crash. We have to do an emergency parachute jump. Although he was unwilling, he had no other choice to save his life. Under the help of his subordinates, Ian put on the parachute and stood up slightly. Have a safe trip. Then Lu Yan blew him a kiss. Ian's face turned from green to white. All these years, no matter who it was, they would be afraid when they heard Ian's name. Even the evil religious fanatic Levis was respectful when he saw him. Only Lu Yan, this Asian woman with delicate features, had never taken him seriously. She even played some deadly games with him from time to time, giving him surprises and surprises. He loved and hated her at the same time. Just like that, before Ian's plane reached the destination, Lu Yan hacked into the system remotely, causing the plane to crash. However, Lu Yan knew that this wasn't enough to kill Ian. For someone like Ian, it was too difficult to kill him. He had a lot of talents and masters around him. Even if he jumped into the sea, he would be fine. Because in less than 10 minutes, reinforcements would come to his rescue. On a cliff not far away, Lu Yan looked at the crashed plane through her binoculars and snapped her middle and index fingers. Awesome, Yan, you're provoking Ian in public. Are you tired of living? Xiao Fei stood behind Lu Yan with his arms crossed. She was already being chased by Ian's men. Now that she didn't find it exciting enough, she deliberately blew up his plane. Xiao Fei felt that in the whole world, only Lu Yan dared to provoke Ian in public like this. Because she was indeed a barefooted person who wasn't afraid of wearing shoes. No, I'm tired of living. Lu Yan turned around and chuckled. Xiao Fei, I'm just teasing you. Look at your expression. Don't look at me like I'm an idiot, okay? I'm just trying to distract him because Daddy is about to arrive. I can't let Ian know that Daddy is here. If he knows, the world will be in chaos. When will the professor arrive? They're on their way. They'll arrive in about 6 hours. Lu Yan glanced at her watch. To be honest, Xiao Fei was surprised. It was said that the professor didn't go to Russia when he was shot. Later, Qin Chu went and performed surgery on him. It wasn't because the professor was influential and couldn't be invited, but because the professor rarely left the United States. Without the protection of the Federation, people like the professor would be targeted by all the evil forces in the world. This was because the things he had developed could plunge the entire world into chaos. Power was always the deepest desire of human beings. Obtaining a professor was almost equivalent to obtaining the highest level of power. Therefore, he couldn't fall into anyone's hands. Even Lu Yan hadn't seen her biological father for more than 2 years. Did such a person really come to Sea City this time? Xiao Fei was looking forward to it. Chapter 3009. Outside the intensive care unit of the military hospital, the 4 bodyguards had been replaced by 6. 4 more people were added to the ward. Suyu always felt that he was careless, which was why he didn't notice that someone had sneaked in. Shin Mingxi held the little girl's hand and stood at the door. Young Master Shin. I'm here to see Qin Chu. President Su told me. You can go in. Shin Mingxi opened the door and entered the ward with the child. Shin Mingxi and Qin Chu weren't close, but because of his relationship with Suyu, he used to be friends with Huamin and the others. Now that such a big thing had happened, it wouldn't be right if he didn't come. No matter what, Shin Mingxi felt that he should come and see him. So before he came, he called Suyu and asked for Suyu's permission before he came. Qin Chu was still unconscious and wearing an oxygen mask. Shin Mingxi was deeply touched. This godlike man could hover between life and death in an instant. It was obvious that humans were very fragile. If one's life was gone, how could one talk about love and fantasize about the next life? Uncle Shin, isn't this Pudding and Little Bean's father? What's wrong with him? He's... How pitiful. If Pudding and Little Bean knew, they would be sad, right? Yeah, children without a father are pitiful. Shin Mingxi sighed. After hearing this, Tian Tian immediately held Shin Mingxi's hand tightly. Fortunately, Tian Tian still has Uncle Shin. The child's words pierced Shin Mingxi's heart slightly. Then why didn't Auntie Mian come? Auntie Mi, something happened and can't come back. If their father can't be cured without him, Auntie Mian won't come and they won't have mommy. Then are they also orphans? Shin Mingxi didn't answer. Children's questions were always naive and children's words carried no harm. Uncle Shin, if the sisters' fathers aren't good, can you take in the two sisters? Shin Mingxi looked at Xiao Tian curiously. He didn't understand why she would say that. Uncle Shin, Auntie Mian used to treat Tian very well. She always bought me new clothes and food for Tian. She even took Tian home to play with the sisters. Something happened to them, the two sisters would be orphans. If they were sent to the orphanage, they would be bullied. I heard that the orphanage isn't a good place. Some vicious teachers would beat the children because the children there are all orphans. Even if they were beaten, no one would care. I don't want the two sisters to be like that. I can eat less in the future. Uncle Shin, can you take the two sisters in and live with me? Shin Mingxi finally understood what Tian meant. She wanted Shin Mingxi to take in the twins and not let them become orphans. Tian, don't worry. Uncle Shin doesn't need to take care of Pudding and Little Bean. Many people are willing to take care of them, Shin Mingxi explained patiently. If Qin Chu and Huamin really couldn't come back, then Suyu would be the best candidate to take care of the twins, right? He wasn't their biological father, but he was better than their biological father. Just then the door to the ward was pushed open. Shin Mingxi turned around and saw Suyu walk in. Shin Mingxi nodded slightly. Uncle Su, Tian greeted him. Suyu nodded and didn't say anything. To be honest, he didn't like Hui Yanyan, so he didn't like her daughter. How's the investigation going? Any progress? Shin Mingxi asked. Chapter 30:10. There hasn't been any progress. Suyu didn't seem to be in a good mood. What about the Hua Corporation? It's almost done. With Yen Ruashi's information, it shouldn't be a problem to investigate the Hua Corporation. Yen Ruashi is willing to help us? Shin Mingxi was surprised. Yes. With the current situation, she has no reason to hide. She's just a chess piece abandoned by Hua Xiqian. How could she not know her place? You're right. Shin Mingxi nodded. But I checked Hua Xiqian's assets. Something's not right. What's not right? The Hua Corporation is pretty much an empty shell now. I don't know where most of the money went and I can't verify it. I suspect that he used other channels to transfer the money away. I've also checked the foreign accounts and there's not a single cent under his name. Then he probably used another name, Shin Mingxi said. Yes. It seems that this psychopath has been preparing for this for a long time. After investigating this, Suyu was quite gratified. The plan was so thorough. If he knew how to transfer the money, he definitely wouldn't seek death. So if Hua Xiqian wasn't dead, then Huamin was also alive. Thinking that Huamin was still alive, Suyu was more or less gratified. We're here to see Qin Chu. Believe first. If you need me, contact me anytime. Okay. After Shin Mingxi left, he took Tian to the psychiatric treatment center under the city bureau. Hui Yanyan had been locked up there and hadn't left. Shin Mingxi brought the child to visit her every few days. Recently, he hadn't come for about a week because he had been busy with work. According to the people in the city bureau, Hui Yanyan seemed to have regained her consciousness. Shin Mingxi wasn't sure if it was because the drug had worn off. Tian, what do you want to say to Mom when you see her later? Shin Mingxi asked. I want to tell her that I miss her very much. All right. Uncle Shin, can I give my mommy a bite of the chocolate bar you bought for me? She should be very happy to eat something sweet. The little girl said. Sure. The policewoman brought them all the way to Hui Yanyan's room. She has been able to move freely these few days and can communicate normally. She even knows how to complain that our food is not good. I think she has almost recovered. Can you discuss with our director if you want to take her out? All right, I'll make plans for this later. Then the policewoman opened the door and Shin Mingxi walked in with the child. Hui Yanyan was wearing a white hospital gown. She sat on the bed and looked out of the window. No one knew what she was thinking. She turned her head when she heard the door open. Her expression changed when she saw Shin Mingxi and her daughter. Mommy. Tian ran over and hugged Hui Yanyan. However, it was obvious that she was indifferent. Shin Mingxi didn't know if she didn't react in time or if she was just cold. Mommy, look, what did I bring you? This is the chocolate bar Uncle Shin bought for me. It's very sweet. I saved one for you. Tian placed the chocolate bar in her mother's hand carefully. To her surprise, Hui Yanyan threw it to the ground. What the hell is this? Give it to me, Mommy. Tian Tian looked at her mother pitifully and didn't know what to do. Are you my daughter or his daughter? Are you used to living a rich life and don't want to come back? Hui Yanyan looked at the child viciously and questioned. Chapter 30:11. I didn't. Tian Tian was so scared that tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at her unfamiliar mother. Hui Yanyan, that's enough. Don't take it out on the child. She's innocent. Shin Mingxi couldn't stand it anymore. Shut up. I'm disciplining my daughter. What right do you have to interfere? You're not related to the child. Hui Yanyan glared at Shin Mingxi with hatred. You what? Do you think I don't know what you're up to? You're pretending to be a good guy. Others will think you're a righteous man who broke up with your mistress and took care of her child. That way Wei Ying's heart will soften. She'll think you're kind and come back to be with you, right? How come you're so dark now? Shin Mingxi sighed slightly. Looking at Hui Yanyan now, there was no trace of her former self. What? Did I say something wrong? This has nothing to do with Wei Ying. Don't drag her into this. Heh. Do you feel sorry for your ex-wife? Hui Yanyan, are you done? How could I say enough? Who did this to me? It's all your fault. You're all living a luxurious life. But what about me? All my family members are gone. They're all dead. My dad, my mom, my brother. They're all dead. Hui Yanyan roared. Even now you still don't understand. You put all the blame on others. This is a sign of not taking responsibility. I won't argue with you about the ridiculous things you did in the past. There's no need to mention what happened between the two of us. However, Tian Tian has always been the most innocent. Since you brought her into this world, you have to love her well. Don't instill hatred in her like what your mother taught you. If you do, her life will be ruined. Shin Mingxi, don't talk about morality and benevolence. You're not that noble, are you? You just think that if you don't take care of Tian Tian, people will criticize you behind your back. In order to maintain your image as a Prince Charming, you have to pretend to take care of my daughter, right? Is this kind of charity and pity meaningful? Is it tiring to put on a show? I'm not putting on a show. I really want to take care of Tian Tian. Shin Mingxi was furious. People like you always do things with a purpose. Could it be that you want to raise my daughter so that you can take advantage of her like an old cow? Hui Yanyan finished her words. Shin Mingxi viciously slapped him across the face. He slapped Hui Yanyan's face mercilessly, making her face burn. As a mother, what are you saying in front of your child? Hui Yanyan, you're crazy. Shin Mingxi couldn't take any more of Hui Yanyan's vicious words. Only the devil would know how dirty her words were. Uncle Shin. Tian Tian was terrified. At this critical moment she ran to Shin Mingxi, hugged his leg and cried. Little bastard, I raised you for nothing. Now you're abandoning your own mother for someone who's not related to you by blood. Hui Yanyan covered her slapped cheek and looked at her daughter viciously. Since you've recovered, you should treat your illness properly. With that, Shin Mingxi walked out with Tian Tian. Come back, you bastard. Hui Yanyan suddenly stood up and tried to grab Shin Mingxi like a madwoman. However, the policewoman stopped her outside the door and locked it. Hui Yanyan's illness is not only good, it's even more important. I'll tell your director to continue the treatment here, Shin Mingxi said coldly to the policewoman. Shin Mingxi, you'll die a horrible death. You locked me up on purpose to take my daughter away. You'll get what you deserve. Hui Yanyan cursed madly behind him. Outside the Municipal Public Security Bureau, Tianon, Uncle Shin will arrange for you to study abroad, okay? Shin Mingxi asked with tears in his eyes. Chapter 30:12. Tian Tian immediately hugged Shin Mingxi's thigh tightly. Tears streamed down her face. Uncle Shin, I don't want to go abroad. I want to leave this place. Don't kick me out, okay? I'm not kicking you out, Tianon. I'm thinking about your future. I'll find someone to go with you and take care of you. Shin Mingxi squatted down and explained patiently. After Hui Yanyan's vicious words, Shin Mingxi did reflect on himself. With his identity and situation, would it be convenient for him to take Tian Tian with him in the future? Would people gossip about him? Even if he didn't care about the consequences, what about the child? Would the child grow up to be traumatized? Shin Mingxi didn't want his child's life to be ruined because of his momentary pity. He could pay for her and take care of her. But if she was sent abroad and had a nanny to study with her, her life would be much better than it was now. After all, for Tian Tian, even if she went to school, she couldn't get rid of the trauma left by her mother. In a coffee shop, Auntie, you wanted to see me? Wei Ying was carrying the latest Chanel handbag and wearing an elegant off-white suit. Her long hair was dyed chestnut and fell down in a beautiful straight line. Sitting across from Wei Ying, Mrs. Shen had an illusion. She thought Wei Ying was much prettier than before she married Shen Mingxi. It seemed that a woman's appearance wasn't determined by her marriage. It was related to her mental state and her lifestyle. Now Wei Ying was no longer full of doubts, cursing, finding fault, complaining, or even hating someone. After the divorce she felt free. Ying, you're getting younger and younger. Mrs. Shen smiled. No, I'm just pretending to be young. I heard you just came back from a trip. Yeah. I've been addicted to traveling in the past 2 years. I go out with my friends from time to time. How are your parents? My dad's blood sugar is high and he's careful with his diet. My mom is healthy and often plays mahjong with her. Your brothers are running the company now, right? Yeah. It's mostly my brothers. I don't care about the company. You and Mingxi, you've been apart for years. Have you ever thought about looking for him? Mrs. Shen's words caught Wei Ying off guard. To be honest, Auntie, I didn't think that much. I heard from the people in the circle that you and the young master of the Yi family are very close. Mrs. Shen said it very vaguely. Obviously, everyone in the circle knew that Yi Xiaoyang was pursuing Wei Ying. But we're just friends. He's a nice guy, Wei Ying commented as she lowered her head and took a sip of coffee, feeling a little embarrassed. Ying, actually, I have something to ask of you today. Auntie, please don't say that. After all, we used to be a family. If there's anything I can help you with, I'll definitely help you. Saying the word beg is too serious. Although Wei Ying used to be arrogant, she was still polite to her elders. This matter. I don't even know how to bring it up. To be honest, I know that asking for your help is a little unreasonable. But Auntie really has no other choice. Auntie, tell me what it is and I'll see if I can help. Wei Ying looked at Mrs. Shen. You must have heard that the little bitch Hui Yinyan's child is with Mingxi, right? Mrs. Shen said slowly. Yeah. I heard about it. Can you help me persuade Mingxi not to take that burden with him? Mrs. Shen grabbed Wei Ying's hand and said in a pleading tone. Chapter 13. Auntie, this. How can I persuade him? You know Mingxi never listens to me. Wei Ying looked embarrassed when she said this. If she was really that charming, she wouldn't have to divorce Mingxi, right? No. You don't know. After Mingxi's car accident, he's changed. He seems to have seen through Hui Yinyan's character and changed his view of you. Especially after you gave him your blood, you're like his savior. I think if you ask him, he'll consider it carefully. Wei Ying looked troubled. Look, Xiaoying, Mingxi is so busy with work now and he still has to take care of a child. Not only is he being criticized behind his back by the people in our circle, but he's also being mocked for asking for it. After taking care of someone else's mother, he has to take care of someone else's daughter. No one would feel good hearing such filthy words. I've looked for him before and asked him to send the child to the orphanage, but he refused no matter what. He couldn't bring himself to do it. We're not heartless people either. It's true that the child is innocent, but whenever I think of her disgusting mother, I feel very uncomfortable. Don't you think so, Ying? Maybe Mingxi has his own ideas, Wei Ying said. I know my own son very well. He's just too soft-hearted. You're right. But Mingxi lived with that child for a while and it's normal for him to feel pity for her. Wei Ying held the coffee cup and said slowly. I don't object to him taking care of the child, but can he do it in another way? I can help him find a family without a child and give the child to them. She'll live a good life. Isn't that a good idea? Mrs. Shen looked helpless. I think the most important thing is his attitude, right? That's right, Mingxi is stubborn. Just like back then, he still insisted on getting a divorce even though we were so against it. Auntie's begging you. Can you say something? Auntie, I'll try my best. I'm afraid he'll dislike my relationship with Mingxi if I say too much. He won't. He will definitely consider your words. You are his savior. But I can't force him to think against his will just because I saved his life. Wei Ying smiled. Anyway, find an opportunity to tell me about it. It's the biggest favor you can do for me. Mrs. Shen was selfish. In order to prevent Shen Mingxi from raising Hui Yanyan's daughter, she even asked Wei Ying for help. Wei Ying knew she shouldn't interfere since she knew what she was capable of, but she couldn't stand Mrs. Shin's words. Since Mrs. Shin had put it this way, she had to help her. I'll try my best, Auntie. I can only say that I'll try my best. That's great. Xiaoying, thank you. You're welcome. Wei Ying smiled awkwardly. Wei Ying had thought that she would find a chance to meet Shin Mingxi in a few days, but to her surprise, they met again at the cocktail party that night. Xiaoying, look, isn't that your ex-husband? A socialite nudged Wei Ying. Wearing a dark blue evening gown, Wei Ying looked up and saw Shin Mingxi standing not far away. He was holding the hand of a beautiful 5-year-old girl in a princess gown. Isn't that Hui Yanyan's daughter? Young Master Shin adopted her? What's going on? Someone whispered in the crowd. Chapter 30:14. Yeah. What do you think? Young Master Shin doesn't have to bring trouble to himself. Yeah. That kid's mother isn't a good person. When she grows up, she won't be a good person either. What's the saying again? If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. Young Master Shin is too soft-hearted. I guess he can't bear to part with her. Although she's not his biological daughter, they lived together and have feelings for each other. Really? I don't think so. I heard rumors that young Master Shin is a pedophile and wants to keep her for himself after she grows up. Hearing this, Wei Ying's expression changed drastically. She walked over with a long face and said, "You guys seem to have a lot of free time. Is it fun to gossip about other people all day long?" The socialites looked at each other awkwardly. At this age, you should cherish your life. Don't worry about other people's problems, Wei Ying said. We're just defending you. Shin Mingxi used to treat you so badly. That's my business. I'm not even planning for it. Why are you guys following me? Hearing Wei Ying's words, the socialites didn't dare to say more. In Sea City, the Wei family was very wealthy and few small companies dared to go against them. Especially after knowing the relationship between Wei Liao and Su Yu. So even though they knew Wei Ying was insulting them, they didn't dare to talk back. Then Wei Ying walked to the side. Shin Mingxi walked in with Tian Tian. After greeting some acquaintances, he went to the side and got Tian Tian a piece of mousse cake. Uncle Shin, when are we going home? In a bit. I have to meet a friend to talk about something. Then we'll leave. Hey, can I get whatever I want to eat? Tian Tian asked. Sure, but don't eat too much. You'll be bloated, Shin Mingxi told Tian Tian patiently. When Wei Ying walked over, Tian Tian went to get ice cream. After greeting the others, Shin Mingxi was about to pick up a cocktail when Wei Ying took it for him. Thank you. When Shin Mingxi looked up to thank her, he saw that the person before him was Wei Ying. Big brother Mingxi, is your injury okay? I heard from Auntie that you've returned to work at the company? Well, it's nothing serious. There are still some minor injuries that can be healed. It's not urgent. That's good. Wei Ying nodded. Your brother didn't come with you? Shin Mingxi looked behind Wei Ying. Oh no. My brother and sister-in-law seem to be in a terrible fix because of President Qin's family. My sister-in-law has always been close to Lady Qin, and she even fell seriously ill because of it. I see. It seemed that everyone in the industry knew about what had happened to Qin Chu's family, but because there were too many people here, Shin Mingxi didn't say much. Mingxi, that kid? Recalling what Mrs. Shin had told her, Wei Ying was about to say something. Then she heard someone calling her from behind. Ying. Wei Ying turned around and saw Yi Xiaoyang in a black casual suit walking over with a glass of champagne. I've been looking for you for a long time. So you're here. Yi Xiaoyang smiled. Before Wei Ying could speak, he took off his jacket and put it on her. The air conditioner here is a bit strong. Don't catch a cold. Thank you. Embarrassed, Wei Ying lowered her head. President Shin, what a coincidence. You know our Ying? Yi Xiaoyang asked Shin Mingxi with a smile. Chapter 30:15. Shin Mingxi was about to speak when Yi Xiaoyang said, Oh, I remember now. You're Ying's scumbag ex-husband, Yi Xiaoyang. Wei Ying was a bit anxious. Sorry, it was a slip of the tongue. I just heard it from others. President Shin, you're a big man. You won't blame me, right? I won't. Shin Mingxi looked at him, obviously displeased. My mom and auntie are over there. Do you want me to take you to them to say hello? Wei Ying wanted to refuse, but she knew Yi Xiaoyang didn't like Shin Mingxi. If she didn't go, Yi Xiaoyang would think she didn't want to cause more trouble because of Shen Mingxi. Wei Ying nodded and said goodbye to Shen Mingxi. Big brother Mingxi, I'll go now. Okay. After a few steps, Wei Ying stopped and turned to look at Yi Xiaoyang. Is it fun? Huh? Yi Xiaoyang pretended not to know. I'm asking you, is it fun to insult people? Wei Ying was a bit angry. Xiaoying, I was just trying to help you vent your anger. He treated you so badly. Shut up. That's between me and him. Let's not talk about what happens between us. It's not up to you to interfere. Who do you think you are? Who are you to me? We? There's nothing between us. I didn't promise you anything. Your family's business is declining, and your dad wants to develop a new project with my dad. That's between them. You can talk to my brother. But don't try to get close to me. I won't use my marriage for an alliance. So, don't be so sarcastic when you see Shen Mingxi in the future. I really despise your face just now. Then Wei Ying turned to leave. Yi Xiaoyang was obviously displeased, but he didn't dare to say anything. Wei Ying was telling the truth. The Yi family did need the Wei family's help. He pursued Wei Ying for a purpose, but it wasn't just for benefits. He really liked Wei Ying's shrewdness, decisiveness, and even her talent and beauty. After the Yi family gets over this crisis, I'll pursue you openly. Shen Mingxi wants to remarry me? No way, Yi Xiaoyang said in a low voice. Wei Ying had planned to change her clothes and leave. She wasn't interested in this kind of occasion. When he passed by the corridor, he saw Hui Yanyan's daughter squatting down and eating ice cream. Her small figure was carefully sitting there. It really made one's heart ache. At this time, a man walked past her. When the little girl got up, she accidentally knocked over the tray in her hand. The ice cream splashed all over the man's suit. Whose child is this? How can he be so uneducated? The man roared. I'm sorry, uncle. I didn't mean to. Xiao Tian was so scared that she immediately reached out to help the man. Go away. Don't touch my pants. Take your dirty hands away. The man seemed to have a bad temper. At this moment, the man's female companion walked over. Dear, what's going on? I don't know whose kid it is, but he got all over me. The man frowned and scolded. This seems to be the child that young Master Shen brought here. The woman looked at Tian and said, Young Master Shen? So she's that burden? The man said viciously, I'm not a burden. Tian didn't understand the meaning of the word burden, but she knew it wasn't something good. So she's that slut Hui Yanyan's daughter. Does she look like a slut? Did your mom teach you how to seduce men when you were young? You're trying to get my attention, right? The man pointed at the child and scolded viciously. In the end, Wei Ying couldn't stand it anymore and walked over in her high heels. Chapter 30:16. Aren't you afraid that people will laugh at you for bullying a kid? Who are you? It's none of your business. The man turned his head and retorted. However, he was immediately pulled back by his female companion. She reminded him in a low voice, Honey, don't be impulsive. She's the daughter of the Wei family. Hearing that she was from the Wei family, the man's attitude changed immediately. He smiled obsequiously and said, Oh, it's Beauty Wei. I've heard so much about you. Wei Ying glanced at the man and said faintly, If I remember correctly, you're the illegitimate son of the Gao family, right? Now that the Gao family has acknowledged you, you don't know who you are anymore? You. The man didn't expect Wei Ying to be so blunt as to expose his shortcomings. What? You're a man, how can you bully a kid? Wei Ying walked over and stood in front of Tian. It's all because of this little bastard. She got me all sticky, the man argued. The kid is so young. You didn't do it on purpose. Forgive and forget. Don't tell me you don't have kids in the future? Wei Ying retorted. Sister Wei Ying, do you know who this kid is? The woman suddenly asked. Wei Ying sneered but didn't answer. Sister Wei Ying, this kid is the daughter of that vixen Hui Yanyan. Don't forget how that woman ruined your marriage, the woman added. Every debt has its debtor. Hui Yanyan had nothing to do with the kid. I'm not stupid enough to take it out on a kid. The woman pouted but didn't dare to say more when she saw Wei Ying didn't appreciate her kindness. Let's go, honey. The woman pulled the man away. Stop, Wei Ying yelled behind them. Miss Wei, what's your order? The man and woman turned around, obviously displeased. You apologize to the kid for what you just said. Wei Ying pointed at the man and said word by word. What did you say? You want me to apologize to a bitch's daughter? Are you kidding me? The man was furious. Don't make it sound so bad. Your mother is also a mistress. It's the pot calling the kettle black. Wei Ying didn't hold back. Wei Ying, don't cross the line. Don't think you can do whatever you want just because you're from the Wei family. The man was furious. I'm not being lawless. I'm being reasonable. The child has already apologized to you for spilling ice cream on you, but you're still holding on to it. It's not fair to the child. Sister Wei Ying, what's the point of helping your love rival's child? The woman didn't seem happy. It's my business who I want to help. If you don't apologize, you're going against the Wei family. If I remember correctly, the Gao family needs a lot of help from the Wei family. What? Do you want me to tell my dad to cut off the Gao family's source of income and kick you out? Wei Ying's tone was domineering. Upon hearing Wei Ying's words, the man immediately became listless. In this city, there were very few financial groups that could compete with the Wei family. The Gao family was just a nouveau riche and could only be considered a small family. He didn't even dare to offend the Yi clan, let alone the Wei clan. The man didn't dare to offend Wei Ying, so he immediately changed his attitude and said with a smile, Miss Wei, please be merciful and forgive us this time, okay? You're wrong. Apologize to her, not me. Wei Ying pointed at Tian. More and more people came to watch. Shin Mingxi had unknowingly stood in the middle of the crowd and watched everything quietly. What? Are you going to apologize or not? Wei Ying glared at the perverted man and asked aggressively. Chapter 30:17. Seeing more and more onlookers, the man felt embarrassed. Honey, what should we do? The woman tugged at the man's hand in a low voice. Get out of my way. The man shook off the woman's hand impatiently. Finally, he gritted his teeth and walked up to Tian. Scared, Tian hid behind Wei Ying. Don't be afraid. He's the one who did something wrong, not you. He's apologizing to you. Wei Ying turned around and walked forward with Tian in her arms. I'm sorry, kid. I take back what I said, the man said in a huff. Is that okay? Miss Wei? The man asked impatiently. It's okay. I hope you can watch your words and actions in the future. Wei Ying didn't continue the argument. Seeing that they couldn't watch the show, the onlookers dispersed. Holding Tian's hand, Wei Ying was about to go find Shin Mingxi when she saw him behind her. I was going to go find you. Watch her. After all, there are all kinds of people here. Wei Ying let go of Tian and brought her to Shin Mingxi. Uncle Shin. Tian immediately threw herself at Shin Mingxi. Are you okay, Tian? I'm fine. This auntie saved me. Tian could tell the difference between good and bad even though she didn't know what had just happened. Shin Mingxi had been here for a while. For some reason, if it were in the past, he would have rushed up and taught that scumbag a lesson so that he could show off and slap his face. But this time, seeing Wei Ying's actions, he wanted to see how much she could handle it. The result was satisfying. The status of the Wei family's young mistress was indeed oppressive. In the past, Shin Mingxi had always thought that Wei Ying used her status as the young mistress of the Wei family to bully others. But now he realized that she could also stand up for justice. If it were someone else, it wouldn't be a big deal. But the person she was protecting was Hu Yinyan's daughter. Knowing that she was Hu Yinyan's daughter, she let go of the past and stood up for Tian. No matter what the onlookers said about her, Shin Mingxi was touched by her courage. Thank you, Shin Mingxi said. Don't mention it. It's not a big deal. That guy is obviously a scumbag. He bullied a kid. What a disgrace, Wei Ying said nonchalantly. But you have to be careful in the future. That man is obviously holding a grudge, Shin Mingxi reminded her. Don't worry, I'll be careful. Wei Ying smiled faintly. When are you leaving? Right away, I'm really sleepy, yawning, Wei Ying said. Did you drive here by yourself? Shin Mingxi asked. No, my chauffeur drove me here. Okay, then you should go back early. Okay. Wei Ying nodded and turned to leave. Actually, Shin Mingxi had wanted to say, you drove here and it's not safe to go back alone. Why don't you take my car? But when he heard Wei Ying say that it was the chauffeur, he didn't have the nerve to say anything. After Wei Ying left, Shin Mingxi left the hotel with the kids. Uncle Shin. Do you like that auntie? Why do you ask? Because I feel that the way you look at her is different. What kind of look is that? Shin Mingxi asked Tian with a smile. It's a very friendly look. Used to look at mommy like that. I don't know when it started, but mommy changed, you changed, and everyone changed. Tian lowered her head, looking depressed. Tian, Uncle Shin and your mommy? Shin Mingshi didn't know what to say. At this moment he heard a loud bang behind him. Shin Mingshi's car was hit by someone. Chapter 30:18. She was too young and sitting in the front seat, so she knocked her head on the floor. Han Tian burst into tears from the pain. Shin Mingshi opened the car door and walked out. Behind his white Maserati was a black Porsche Cayenne. The person who got out of the car was Yi Xiaoyang. Ouch, President Shin, I'm sorry. I slipped and rear-ended you. But it's okay, you can take it to a 4S shop for repairs. I'll pay for the repairs. As soon as he said the word pay, Shin Mingshi punched Yi Xiaoyang to the ground. Perhaps he hadn't expected that the gentle Shin Mingshi would suddenly make a move. When he reacted and wanted to fight back, it was too late. Shin Mingshi's punches were fast and hard, and Yi Xiaoyang fell to the ground. When he was done, Shin Mingshi stood up, wiped the dust off his fists and said, "You can go to the hospital without worry. I'll pay for your hospitalization fees." Then Shin Mingshi got into his car and left with Tian. Someone accidentally took a video of the fight and it went viral in the upper-class circle. Soon Wei Ying saw it. People are saying that Shin Mingshi and Yi Xiaoyang fought because of you. Her best friend sent her a voice message. That's impossible. Don't talk nonsense. I'm not talking nonsense. Everyone says so. Young Master Yi likes you, everyone can see it. It's normal that he doesn't like young Master Shin. Do you feel proud now? No, Wei Ying replied faintly. But did you watch the video? Young Master Shin is so cool today. He single-handedly beat young Master Yi. Young Master Yi was beaten up badly. I heard the Yi family is going to the Shin family for revenge. It's a fight between kids. It's embarrassing, Wei Ying said. I know, right? I didn't know young Master Shin was so good at fighting. I heard that Lord Su was the best of the 4 young masters. After all, he used to be in the army. Does your brother know how to fight too? Her best friend gossiped. Of course. Why else would he be kidnapped? Wei Ying asked back. While chatting with her best friend, she pondered the reason for the fight. To be honest, Wei Ying's feelings for Shin Mingshi were complicated. She couldn't explain them. She still had feelings for him, but she was quite calm about it now. Even if he said that he had completely forgotten about her, he still felt strange every time they met. Wei Ying and Shin Mingshi's relationship wasn't as mysterious as it was described in novels. Couples who had been married for 3 years without consummating their marriage didn't exist in this world. Before the two of them divorced, their married life was quite normal. Shin Mingshi was a normal man and Wei Ying was a stunning beauty. After all, he was a man who had intimate contact with her. At that time, many people said that if Wei Ying had a child, things would be different. If one was born into a wealthy family and did not have children, it would be very difficult for one's status to be stable. Moreover, children were also a tie to a man's heart. At this thought, Wei Ying felt depressed. She even wondered if she was infertile. A quiet night. After a busy day of work, Suyu was not in a hurry to go home. Instead, he went straight to the military hospital. In the ward, Gao Ran brought someone to see him. Aching followed behind Gao Ran. When he saw Suyu, he nodded. Sit down. I have something to ask you. Suyu's tone was cold. Maybe it was because Aching had always been Hua Xiqian's man, so he seemed to be repulsed by him. You're tuning in to the Biao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.